This video is going to be looking at the one explicit source on your opposition to Claudius, which is Suetonius Claudius 13 and 36. Obviously there will be other sources that show opposition, but this is the one that talks specifically about plots. So you can see straight away from the section of Suetonius, so there were various attempts made on his life. So you have dissident individuals, groups of conspirators, and by a civil war. So it would appear that Claudius is suffering from quite a range of different opposition to his rule. So we have, in terms of individuals, a member of the public with a dagger was arrested near his bedroom. In terms of sort of a group, we then have two knights found waiting to kill him. And then in terms of the wider plot, we have a guy called Gallus and Corvinius brought together some of Claudius's own freemen and slaves into a plot for his deposition. So I don't think how to say that word for a second then. So we have a couple of different groups trying to get rid of him. And then we have Scribonius, I think is how you pronounce it. So the governor of Dalmatia, he starts a civil war. However, it wasn't a particularly serious civil war and it was gotten rid of in 5 days. Fine. But what you do have here is quite a range. So there does seem to be, according to Suetonius anyway, some widespread opposition to Claudius. And it gets to such a point that Claudius becomes quite paranoid about this, I think kind of justifiably so. So he said there are some baseless rumours of conspiracies, so he tries to abdicate, so he tries to step down. He sort of sends out for a meeting of the Senate, where he protests loudly and tearfully no place was safe for him any longer. I mean, if you put it into context of how he comes to power, it's not really a surprise he's a little bit paranoid. I mean, I can't think in the family tree, his nephew, I think, was Caligula, has been murdered by the Praetorian Guard, and obviously Claudius is kind of half kidnapped and sort of made emperor by the rest of the Praetorian Guard. So he knows that if the emperors don't work outright, that his own security could quite easily kill him off. So I think he's allowed to be a little bit paranoid and he's allowed to be concerned. But obviously, Suetonius being very critical of Claudius in terms of like, oh, he's quite cowardly in this respect. So I said he's crying in public, so he fails to appear in public for the next few days. Even Messalina is one of his wives. Not that he has more than one wife at a time, but I mean he's one of his wives. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. Possibly the third wife was, according to sources, always plotting against Claudius, trying to have him bump him off, possibly poisoning him. So she's also done some insulting behaviour. Yet he sort of absolutely loves her. So this isn't. It's a hint of an opposition because she was acting possibly behind the scenes to get rid of him, but it's also about his use of his family. So he's quite reliant on his wives and he's very reliant on his freedmen. So the fact that some of these freedmen up here sort of working against him is quite serious because he did rely on them heavily for his rule. Either way, there are a series of different plots against him. But obviously when we look at all the other sources, there will be other opposition appearing, such as within the relations of the Senate, etc. But we'll also see that actually Claudius had a very steady rule and was relatively popular with most parts of society. Probably because, well, he wasn't Caligula and sort of did a slightly better job than him. Anyway, this is the only source that's explicitly just focuses on different plots against Claudius.